What's up everyone, back for another vlog, and in today's vlog I will be showing you the beers that I'll be reviewing for the upcoming 5th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. So wow, I cannot believe that I've been doing this now for 5 years. Crazy to me, never thought I'd be doing it this long. Now if you're a relatively new viewer of the channel, how the 10 Days of Pumpkin works is very simplistic, much like my channel. Basically, every single October, for the final 10 days of the month, I review a pumpkin beer every single day. Every single day. So basically, that is October 22nd until October 31st, which is Halloween, of course. And I try to get a good mix of beers every single year, but this year I had a little bit more of an issue than prior years, and that's because this is the 5th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin, and at this point I've reviewed almost 50 different pumpkin beers on my channel in the past 5 years. So being able to grab pumpkin beers from bigger regional and national craft breweries here locally that I haven't tried yet, getting tougher by the year. A lot of times people will be like, have you had the Elysian Pumpkin Pack? Yep, reviewed them all. Have you had all the Pumpkins? Yep, reviewed them all. So this year, a little bit more difficult, but I did enlist the help of a friend of mine for a couple of these beers and also a brewery for a couple of these beers. I try to get, like I said, a good mix every year. It's not always doable. I always throw in a Western New York Wednesday a beer as well. Some of these are going to be able to be procured by many of you out there, and maybe, 5, 6, or 7 by quite a few of you out there, because if you're in the northeast part of the country, you should be able to grab some of these. But anyway, yeah, I'm really excited about it. So like I said, I will start posting these on Saturday, October 22nd, and the last day will be Monday, October 31st, which again is Halloween. And these are in order from your left to right of how I'm going to post them. So this is day 1 and this is day 10. So let's go over them real quick. Why not, right? Let's do it. So first one we have is from the Lakefront Brewery, and they're out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and this is their pumpkin lager. So this is a lager brewed with real pumpkin and spices, contains cinnamon, allspice, ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and mace. Comes in at 6.1% alcohol by volume, and Lakefront is the brewery who sent me 2 beers. They sent me this beer and the final beer that I'm going to review for the 10 Days of Pumpkin this year, and really awesome of them. I actually sent them a message on Instagram. I wanted to know their distribution footprint because I wanted to try both of these beers for numerous years now, and they were just like, yeah, we'll just send them to you. So that's really cool. I did let them know, however, that I am going to be honest like I am with any other review on my channel, and they still sent the beers, so they're cool with it. Anyway, I've only had one other pumpkin lager that I can remember, and it was from Jack's Abbey. It was their pumpkin crop lager. This was many years ago, a good 5, 6 years ago, and it was really good. I just think a lager base is kind of interesting. You don't see it too often. So that will be day 1. For day 2, we have from the Weyerbacher Brewing Company, or the Weyerbacher Brewing Company, or the W.E. Yerbacher Brewing Company. They're out of Easton, Pennsylvania. We have their Imperial Pumpkin Ale. So this is an ale brewed with pumpkin and spices. Cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, and cloves are those spices, 8% alcohol by volume. Now, this beer, he actually gave me 2 bottles of it, and that person is a very good friend of mine and fellow beer tuber, Matt, over at Massive Beers. He gave me 2 of these when we hung out at the 2022 Beer Tuber Palooza. I asked him if he could grab them for me because we do not get W.E. Yerbacher at all anymore in the Buffalo, New York area. When they went bankrupt many years ago, they pulled out of the state, or at least of the Western New York area, and we have not seen them return. I know this past summer, their brew pub, I believe, went bankrupt. They're still brewing and packaging and distroing their beers, but we don't see them. And I haven't had this beer in like 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that. So Matt was nice enough to hook it up, and I've already had this one this year. Why? Because Matt and I, for day 2, did a duo beer review that you will see. We have already drank and reviewed this one, and no spoilers, but just let's say him and I, we reviewed this one. We had a great time doing so. So huge thanks to Matt for this beer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys, what you think about it if you've had this one before, but also when I post the review, if you enjoy the review, because Matt and I had a ball. It's been a while since we just did a duo beer review, and yeah, I'm excited. Anyway, day 3. We have from the Left Hand Brewing Company, and they're out of what, Longmont, Colorado? Am I correct? Yeah, Longmont, Colorado. This is their Pumpkin Spice Latte Nitro. So they're calling this one a pumpkin ale with spices and coffee added. Comes in at, what is it? I think it's 7%. You guys tell me somewhere, right? Am I buzzed? it has to say it somewhere right there. 7% alcohol by volume. And let me just tell you that I have a little apprehension, a little bit concerned with this one, because when it comes to Left Hand, I always say they're the kings of the nitro beer here in the US. But I think that only holds true for their Milk Stout Nitro series and some of their Imperial Stout Nitro beers. I've had some fruited beers from them recently over the past couple years that I just did not care for. And this, it's pumpkin, spices, it's coffee. I'm a little bit nervous. We'll see if it's good or not. I'm going to be honest like I always am. I always say don't go into reviews with preconceived notions, but with something like this, it's very hard to do so. But I'm hoping this is delicious. We will see if it is, but, you know, if it's not, so be it. Next, for day 4, so we got day 1, 2, 3, day 4, we have from Prairie Artisan Ales. They're out of Krebs, Oklahoma. This is their Basic Rebecca. So this is a barrel-aged imperial stout with pumpkin and spices, and fall spices. Comes in at 13.6% alcohol by volume, and I'm really excited about this one because I think Prairie makes awesome beers, love their imperial stouts, but I reviewed the base of this beer called Basic Becky back in 2019. It was this beer without the barrel aging, and I loved it. The mouthfeel and body were incredible. Just a very, highly enjoyable imperial pumpkin stout, more or less. So now this is barrel aged, and I'm really excited about it. And plus, the spices are kind of weird. They don't list them here on the label. Well, when I get to the review, I'll let you know. There's one that they throw in there that I don't really see in pumpkin beers. It's really interesting. Now, I also hope this is really good because this is the most expensive beer of the whole bunch at $15.99 for a single bottle in my area. I picked it up, though. Whatever. You know, once a year, you got to splurge. Next, we have the only Western New York Wednesday beer that I'll be reviewing. It's from Community Beer Works out of Buffalo, New York, and this is their Pumpkin Spice Whale. So they call this one a brown ale brewed with natural flavors. Now, yeah, what does this come in at? 6% too? Do they have the ABV? 5.9% alcohol by volume. Now, I don't think this includes pumpkin. Let's see. No, it says this special version of their whale, which is an American brown ale, is brewed with a custom blend of pumpkin pie spice for hints of cinnamon, ginger, allspice, and nutmeg. So I don't like when breweries just brew with pumpkin spice and they don't actually throw real pumpkin into the beer, because I feel pumpkin adds a little bit of that earthiness, but mostly for the body. It bumps up the body, right? Makes it a little bit heftier, maybe a little bit creamier. But I'm okay with it with this beer. Why? Because the base beer, their whale, is a delicious American brown ale, and it should be able to handle all the spices, I think. We'll see. So I'll let it slide. Community Beer Works, whatever. But a lot of times you'll see breweries that just throw out like a pumpkin beer and it's just spices on top of like just a generic ale base, and you're like, they could have used some pumpkin in there, right? So I'm curious to see how this one comes off, but it is the only Western New York Wednesday, only Western New York beer that I will be reviewing as far as pumpkin beers go this year. Next, we have from the Abomination Brewing Company. They brew out of the 12% Beer Project location in North Haven, Connecticut. This is their Midnight Snack, the pumpkin cheesecake variant. And it's 14% alcohol by volume, by the way. And this is what they're calling a stout with cheesecake, vanilla beans, cacao nibs, and pumpkin spices. Love the artwork from Abomination. They're always on point. This I'm super excited about for obvious reasons, but when it comes to like pumpkin pie, I'm more of a pumpkin cheesecake guy, or a pumpkin roll. I do like pumpkin pie, don't get me wrong, but I've already had 2 different slices of pumpkin cheesecake this fall already, so I'm kind of prepared for this beer and the next one, and I'm just excited because I think Abomination makes great pastry stouts, and I'm looking forward to that one. So that's day 6. Day 7, we have probably the most interesting beer of the entire 10 Days of Pumpkin this year. From the Imprint Beer Company out of Hatfield, Pennsylvania, they're a Schmoogie Puffsicle, the pumpkin cheesecake variant. Now, when it comes to these Schmoogies, they really literally throw almost no information on here. It just says, fruit is heavy, settling is natural, rotate gently before opening, and then no anything on this. What they're going for is, and they're not even really sour anymore, but this is like a heavily fruited sour or pastry sour, and they're, I'd imagine, actually brewing this one with like pumpkin cheesecake. They probably, blend it up and throw it in there. It's a heavily fruited pastry sour, and it could go one of 2 ways. It could be absolutely fucking delicious, and I'll say I only want 4 to 6 ounces because it's super sweet, or I won't like it at all. I guess we'll see though. Really excited about that one for obvious reasons. So back-to-back cheesecake beers. Now, next, for day 8, we have one of the few remaining bucket list beers when it comes to the pumpkin beer style. Yeah, I still have bucket list beers in the pumpkin beer style. This one comes from Cigar City. They're out of Tampa, Florida. And this is their Good Gourd. So they're calling this one Imperial Pumpkin Ale. On the side here, they brew it with cinnamon, allspice, cloves, nutmeg, and vanilla. to emulate the flavors of pumpkin pie. This is a big one too. I think it's like 8.8. Where does it say it on the bottom somewhere? Yeah, 8.8% and 28 IBUs. And yeah, this is a bucket list beer. We started getting distro of Cigar City maybe like 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And I remember when I first saw Good Gourd, it was in the big 750s, and it was shortly after I did the 10 Days of Pumpkin. So it was either 2018 or 19. I was like, you know what? I'll just grab it next year. I want to do it during the 10 Days of Pumpkin. And we haven't seen it until this year. So I bought a can of it, and I'm going to review it. And I'm actually going to do another dual review, much like day 2 with Matt. This one will be reviewed with another good friend of mine and fellow beer tuber, Tyler, over at South 10 Beer Reviews. So him and I are going to review this one. He's been wanting to review a pumpkin beer with me since last year, and we have decided on this because he can get it as well. And I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've heard nothing but good things for like the last fucking 10 years on this beer, so I finally get a chance to try it. Day 9 is a beer that is one of my favorite gourd beers. And why I say gourd beers is because this is not technically a pumpkin beer. No, it comes from the Saucony Creek Brewing Company, and they're out of, I think, Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Yep, and this is their Maple Mistress. So it's funny they just call this an Imperial Ale, but underneath it says ale brewed with butternut squash, maple syrup, and spices. So butternut squash. It's very interesting, such a different gourd beer compared to a lot of these pumpkin beers. And this one was also given to me by the aforementioned Matt, and he actually hooked me up with the first and only time I ever had this one back in 2014. I was hanging out with him and another good friend of ours and fellow beer tuber Paul over at PA Brew News, and he brought some of this, and it just blew me away. I just loved the maple syrup, how it played with the spices, but also the butternut squash, giving such a different character to the base beer. And I haven't had a chance to try it since 2014. So 8 years later, Matt hooks it up. It's in cans. I had it in bottles, and I loved it. So I can't wait to get in this one. This is going to be probably one that only people in PA, maybe the surrounding states, will be able to grab. I don't think Saucony Creek gets big distro, but I've wanted to try that and review it for many years now. We finally got it thanks to Matt. And last but not least, for day 10 on Halloween, we have that other Lakefront Brewery beer, and this is their barrel-aged, or brandy barrel-aged pumpkin imperial ale. So this one is an ale brewed with pumpkin and spices with vanilla added and aged in brandy barrels. It says it contains the same spices in this, I believe, cinnamon, allspice, ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and mace. Comes in at 10.7% alcohol by volume. And this is just me all day. Now, if you've followed the channel for many years, or maybe even 6 months, you'll know that when it comes to barrel-aged beers, my preference will always be brandy and cognac barrels. I just love beers that are barrel-aged in those barrels specifically. Yeah, I like bourbon and whiskey and rum and a bunch of different barrels, but those two specifically, so I feel like I'm going to love that one. We will see, but it just screams to me like this is for me. They brewed this one for me. They didn't, but you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's 10 different pumpkin beers. Like I said, we are going to start reviewing these ones on day 1, October 22nd of this year, this upcoming Saturday, and finishing on October 31st, Halloween. So if you've had any of these beers, post in the comment section. Let me know what your favorite of the bunch are here. Here's a question if you've watched to the end. If you were just showing, so this is what I would say. What is the beer you're looking forward to the most as far as me reviewing it goes? Because if I was a viewer and I stumbled upon my video and it was somebody else, I'll tell you right now, I would be the most excited about, obviously, the brandy barrel-aged beer. These two especially because I've never had good gourd, and this just sounds crazy, right? Let's see if I've never had any of them. These two, for sure. This would be like, okay, that's weird. This sounds delicious. Actually, they all sound interesting, but if I had to pick one, I think I'm going with this. Brandy Barrel-Aged Imperial Pumpkin Ale. I don't think I've had a Brandy Barrel-Aged Imperial Pumpkin Ale. And if I did, I don't remember it, or it's been so long that I just forgot about it. It might have been delicious beer. Might not even had one, but I don't know. So that will be my question to you. If you watch at the end, which beer review are you looking forward to the most? Because I think it would be day 10. But yeah, I think I have a good mix here. I really do. But like I said, we're getting down to the nitty gritty as far as a lot of these beers are concerned. Next year it's going to be even harder, so I might have to enlist the help of more friends of the channel and beer tubers and viewers and everything. So yeah, I'm going to shut this one down. These vlogs are always long. It's probably like 15, 18 minutes, but whatever. Just showing you guys the beer. I appreciate everybody stopping by for another vlog. Be on the lookout for all of these here at the end of October. Until the next one, cheers.